Today we'll be talking about some current events because there are a lot going on. We'll be talking about the huge Gielinor Gazette that was released earlier this month. We'll be talking about Leagues 2, so that's huge, very exciting. We'll talk about the Rev Cave changes and the settled drama. And I want to talk about somebody that's just came up into Jagex, making a huge splash. Mod Mike D. You guys familiar with him? At least read his parts on the Gazette.
I believe so. This is the guy that came from another video game company, right? He's been a production manager. Yeah.
He lives in Texas.
Right.
You know, I personally, I really like him. I think he's got a great feeling of transparency. You know, I was listening to one of his things, and he was asked. Sween asked him, "Why are we going to Steam?" And he said, "Well, it's because we want to make more money, right?" Which, I mean, that's super transparent. Nobody's hiding the fact that RuneScape is made to make money, right? I really appreciate his transparency, both on how the game's developed and what the overall thing.
And he seems like he's a gamer. I think that's very important. We all know Mod Matt K was a gamer. I love Mod Matt K. I'm friends with ex-Mod Matt K.
Cool.
He's a console, and he's a great addition. So it's big shoes to fill, but I think that he's off to a great start from what I've seen. Transparency is key. And also on the note about them making more money, I mean, we all know that at the end of the day that a company's designed to bring in profits. Simultaneously, the best way to make those profits is to keep your player base happy. So we can all win here. It's my take on it.
So probably one of the biggest things meta-wise happening in RuneScape right now, meta-wise, talking about the game as a video game, is RuneScape's coming to Steam. I know they had a pretty huge warm welcome when it came to RuneScape 3. I saw it's overwhelmingly positive reviews. It made the front page featured, which I was pretty surprised. I figured people were going to, probably like you thinking, people were going to review bomb it. I guess they didn't.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit late to the party in terms of people talking about it on the old school RuneScape Reddit. The post that I saw about it was, hey, don't downvote this. Don't review bomb this game because ultimately that's going to come back and reflect poorly on us. People are going to see RuneScape and associate it with negative reviews. So once we get onto Steam, they're going to think the same thing about old school RuneScape if they see RuneScape 3 with negative reviews.
The same thing is that it's all Jagex, man. We're just a department of that company. The more that they prosper, the more that we prosper. It'll come full circle. And also, for all we know, when old school goes on Steam, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people downloaded RuneScape 3 on Steam, logged in and go, what is this? This isn't where I was, burning shrimp and chopping trees when I was a kid, and they left it. So, as long as it's not negatively review bombed and stuff like that, maybe they'll keep their options open. When old school comes out, they'll say, oh, that's what I remember right there. Yeah, there's the Rune Timmies and the Hypervernix Hornix armor or whatever it's called.
Well, I want to get over to the meat and potatoes, the big thing that's coming up that I'm super excited for, and that's the Trailblazer League. Leagues 2 coming up. That looks awesome. Absolutely. I'm super excited for it.
Leagues is definitely really interesting because of the whole snowflake aspect of it, right? These snowflake Ironmen are really popular these days in terms of content creation and the YouTube side of things. So I think that's a really cool thing that they've sort of brought into this leagues, and the accelerated nature of it. Basically, what you get the fun part, right, of strategizing. Oh, what can I have in this region, and what am I restricted from doing by not choosing these regions? But you don't have to do those 500-hour grinds, right?
I agree with Twisted. I think that having alternate game modes and stuff is fascinating. I think it's really interesting. It'll give a lot of people a greater in-depth knowledge of the game. I didn't realize how bad I've been at this game until I made an Iron Man and realized that I knew nothing about this game until I actually was forced to go get everything myself. I was buying stuff off the Grand Exchange without ever knowing how it was created. Have you ever made a Sanfu serum, for the love of God? Has anybody ever made a Sanfu? It's horrible. It's horrible.
I want ornament kits. I want skins for my weapons like I'm playing Fortnite, okay? I probably shouldn't say that on a RuneScape podcast, but you know what I mean.
That's
what you mean.
Dangerous territory.
Ornament kits for more applicable gear.
Right, yeah. For like the best in slot gear, because that's what I wear.
Something where you run around and you're like, your fighter torso says leagues across the front or something like that,
Yeah, just wait until we get sponsored content and your fighter torso will say Raid Shadow Legends on the front.
Very interesting. They definitely did a good job, in my opinion, both times of balancing out relics. It might seem incredibly overpowered, but you're going to have to sacrifice some other incredibly overpowered ones, which is kind of the point. I think that one of the enjoyable aspects of the game mode is how broken it kind of is compared to the normal game, not just with XP rates, but relics and unlimited run, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. I want to do that for the next Deadman mode. Because what I'm hoping specifically with these two separate seasonal game modes is they keep Deadman mode as primarily the PvP seasonal, and then leagues as less PvP focus and more PvM skilling and achievement focus. But I want them to put more resources and more planning into Deadman mode, right? So
the biggest piece of drama going on in the RuneScape community right now is settled. Spoiler alert, if you have not watched the new Swampletics episode, go ahead and stop listening to the podcast right now. Leave the live stream. I'm going to spoil
Big spoiler.
Yes. Definitely go watch it right now before you continue.
Swampletics, you're about to get blown away, so go watch the new episode.
Swampletics, his character died, and it died a death in some way where he has lost pretty much all of his gear. He lost his rune crossbow.
Literally everything.
Right. Of course, it comes under some very peculiar circumstances. Of course, he has his big drama from his girlfriend at Cerulean RS, claiming that she has grinded a lot of his content. She's got some Discord chats that she has evidence on her Twitter. Settled has not commented on this in any way, shape, or form.
He said the death date was September 12th or something like that. This is right when the ex-girlfriend stuff was going on. They were sharing the account allegedly. I've seen it proposed that she wiped him, man, and I'm not going to go so far as say I necessarily believe that, but I have a RuneLight plugin that shows what world I died and my timer when I die. He could have very much closed the window. If you close it, it resets. So for all I know, that very well could be the case. But I don't know, man. It definitely does look shady. I took it at face value when I first watched it. My wife was like, "What are you so upset about?" And I was like, "You wouldn't understand." But at the end of the day, man, it doesn't seem too terribly likely. But I mean, what choice do we have but to take his word for it, I guess,
But there is going to be an update from Settled in a few days from now.
2 days, 3 days?
Yeah. I think it was 3 days when the video was released. So right now, it'll probably be sometime on Tuesday, it seems like. So I do think we'll potentially hear more about it then. And I think if I was a betting man, I would say he's going to talk about the whole girlfriend situation in that update video. It would be way more suspicious to me. I would be way more suspicious of what's going on if he didn't address it in that video. Right now, I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I think in that video, he'll probably talk about both his death and the girlfriend situation in that update video.
Related.
Yeah, and how they may be related. One theory I did see that could be plausible is that his girlfriend might have suicided his account, but based on the amount of hate that she sort of received around the whole initial period when the drama was happening, he didn't want to outright say in his main video, "Hey, my girlfriend killed my account." Because
very well could be. Good point.
I mean, he's got some diehard fans, and we all know how the internet works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So girl do stuff
exactly. So
exactly.
So he might just be taking some precautions in that sense, and
I think probably the most scandalous thing for me is Settled made a post that his YouTube video got a lot of views and didn't get any money, and he asked, he just posted it, and of course, I can't remember specifically whether he asked for people to subscribe to his Patreon, but people started subscribing to his Patreon because of it, to give him the money that they think he deserved. Now Cerulean has shows in her Discord conversations, whether those are real or fake or whatever, that he has actually, that it was true in the beginning, but then like a couple days later he realized it wasn't true, but never came back and said that wasn't true. And if that's true, that is that's just straight lying to your fan base for money. So hopefully that's not true. Hopefully he can explain that. I think Settled as a young kid. He's only 18, 19. I can understand, man, you're making YouTube videos, you broke up with your girlfriend, you're stressed. I can understand a young kid like that making a mistake like that, even if it isn't, intentionally even if it is it's not, even if he did do it, he didn't intentionally deceive it because it was true at the time. It just ended up not being true, and he never released that information. I can see Cerulean here. She says that he claimed he only made $50 off a video. She says, "Yeah, no, that was BS. It just hadn't updated yet." And he knew that, but he was able to use that as a way to get pity money. In this conversation,
in that case, he got full payment.
Right. Mm-hmm. So in this Discord conversation she posts, she says, The $50 video thing is a good example because even after you eventually made money from it, you said it was the best thing to happen to you because you gained a ton of Patreons. Those people gave you money because they were made to think you were actually struggling. Settled. Yes, I agree. I probably shouldn't have announced the video because it's typed weird. I probably should have announced the video, because it did end up making money. I didn't. You seemed completely fine with that at the time, but yeah, I should have. Josh, you make YouTube videos. Is that a thing? Do you get updates? I mean, does any of that make sense to you?
For what it's worth, you're not going to reflect any revenue whatsoever for 24 hours. He would know that. He would know that as long as he's been making YouTube videos. For 24 hours to sometimes 48, you have absolutely no increase in your revenue whatsoever because they're checking your views, they're checking your ads that are watching, they're making sure they're legitimate views, not from the same IP address and not bot attacks, looking at your revenue. And he would absolutely know that. To be perfectly honest with you, yes. It is true that if you post a video and you get 2 million views and then the next morning you look at your revenue, it's going to be exactly the same 95, 99% of the time. It doesn't actually update for 24 to 48 hours. And it tells you that in bold letters on your revenue page. It says that you might want to wait 24. This updates every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it's going to take you, several days for the initial to show up after you post a new video because they're checking the legitimacy of the views, which they do constantly. Every view has to be checked because you get 2 cents every time somebody watches your entire ad or half of it or clicks on one of your ads. And they have to make sure same IP address didn't refresh this page and click on the ads 30 times because of the fact that your initial views, your initial post is when you get the rush of your views. And he would absolutely know that, to be honest with you. For all I know, maybe it's possible, depending on how long he posted that after the video went up, it's possible that it took an extra 24 hours. I've had that happen. Sometimes it does take 3 days before it updates, and then it looks like you're demonetized. But also, fun fact, if you didn't turn on monetization or you are partially monetized, there's a very clear logo. Demonetization or money sharing will be a yellow $sign, like me and Twist were talking about when we did the test run. Or if you have revenue turned off, it'll be gray. So, I mean, in my opinion, now that you mention it, there's pretty much no way that he would have truly believed that he was not making money from the video.
This might be a good question for you, Josh, because I think you would know more about this. But as far as my understanding for YouTube video revenue, the majority of the money is basically made initially when the video is released. So let's say Settled was demonetized for the first 24 hours. He might have, even though he might have gotten monetization back 2 days later or 3 days later, he still missed out maybe on a majority of the revenue.
I would easily say 85 to 90% of your views are going to come in the initial few hours or initial day.
Okay. Yeah. So
the influx of them. Yes.
So maybe he did get monetization back on that video, but is he really lying and saying that, hey, I didn't make any money off this video? Because he might have only made 15% of the money that he did make. I mean, we're getting into like an area where we're making a lot of assumptions and trying to guess. We obviously don't know the numbers, but that is just something to consider. And like you said, he is a young kid. He made these mistakes. Hopefully he learns from it. And I think ultimately, to sum it all up, is hopefully he just is more transparent with his audience moving forward.
I would like to say, man, briefly about it, that no matter what happened, I hope that he does become a little more transparent about it. That's obviously his choice. It's his personal life involved here. At the end of the day, in my opinion, and I think in many people's opinions, this is one of the greatest RuneScape YouTube series that's ever existed, period. I mean, his grindability, whether or not he was helped on it in a 4,000-hour grind, is somewhat neither here nor there. I mean, you don't watch a movie expecting it to be a documentary, you know what I'm saying? Now, of course, it's a little bit different in the video game world. I absolutely love this account. I love Settled. I'm thankful for the day that somebody said you should check out Swampletics, man. He's on like episode 7 when I got out of prison the first time before I went back, and I've got to say, man, at the end of the day, it's going down as one of the greatest series of all time, period. The editing, the grinds, and I really hope that what we think happened didn't happen. I'm going to continue watching the series. I want him to beat the Theater of Blood. I can't wait for it. I hope that it continues. And I didn't consider the aspect that Twitch just pointed out, which is that maybe he was just trying to protect the girl for all we know, the fact that he had no footage of the death, and then it showed him world hopping, and then it just showed him miserably catching a few imps just trying to get back in the game. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I hope that he's more transparent about it. If not, I'll still be along for the ride.
Right.
And if it went down the way he says it went down, much love to Settled, and I'm sorry that it happened that way.
I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us for this like I said, incredibly important moment in RuneScape history. Just to recap again, we do have, to my top right, we do have the legendary Dr. Twist. We got the RS Felon, aka Josh Pill, out to my top left. I am your host, Monkey Commando. Guys, check out our social media